worst nightmares.
How do we pass this trial?
So you created WandaVision, probably the MCU's best series to date. No big deal, in my humble opinion. At what point did you realize, did it kind of dawn on you that Agnes, Agatha, what Kathryn was doing with this role was like worthy of taking her down a whole new journey, like Agatha All Along?
You know, the idea of a spinoff did not happen during any part of WandaVision, but I did know that I was like beholding something special with what she was bringing to the role, and that she was coming to it with such depth and rigor that it was so far beyond like all of her like winky winks and like nosy neighbor stuff that she and Lizzie together, you know, created so much like subtext to their relationship and for Kathryn what Agatha was about, that she just always loomed, you know, in this enormous way. And so when I had an opportunity to develop a show, it was like, it's Agatha All Along.
Yeah. So it wasn't when that bop dropped, that theme song, because that exploded, obviously.
It did explode. I mean, what that did is, in approaching making a show centered on Agatha, music was obviously going to be vital because of that experience. And bringing the Lopez's back was a necessity for me creatively.
Yeah. Is this series trying to redeem Agatha? Is Agatha redeemable? I mean, she killed Sparky.
I know. She killed a dog. Like any screenwriting professor is like, what is the one sin you can't come back from? Killing a dog. You know, the question of, is this a redemption story, is something that we spoke about really early. Specifically, I had that conversation a lot with Brad Winderbaum, who's head of TV, and I actually cannot answer that without spoiling things. Yeah. But I feel like it's a, you know, if I were, you know, a fan and a viewer of the show, like that would be intriguing to me. Like, is it redemption or is it not?
Right.
And we took it really seriously.
I feel like this is appropriate surroundings to ask this question. I've heard Agatha described as like Marvel's version of like the classic Disney villain. Do you look at her that way?
You know, like I feel like she would be like, you know, those bitches have nothing on me. So, I mean, I think that certainly, you know, there's like the Venn diagram, there's some shared, but I think that Agatha considers herself an original. Yeah. And of course, I have to as well. Yeah.
The meta-ness to you guys just changing the title, seemingly changing the title on us like multiple times throughout production. Yeah. That was all ruse the whole time. You were just fucking with us, right? Yes. How carefully did you plot that out? Like, did you go, we're just gonna mess with people a little bit here?
Yeah, and it wasn't, you know, like, I don't ever come from a place of like, I wanna mess with people. I'm like, I want this to be fun. Like, let's make this fun. And people love a mystery and they love to decode. I do too, you know? And so like, I weave complex things because I am so lucky that Marvel has this fan base who are up for the puzzle. Like, that's just like, it's like ecstatic. I don't really know how to convey how great it is. Yeah. With the title specifically, you know, with the meta piece in WandaVision, very early in the room, we were like, what would Agatha be up to? Like, what would the shenanigans be? We had all kinds of ideas about like, and we had questions of like, can we take over like the Disney Plus platform? Like, can we like mess with the tiles? Like we're like, she would do, and through witchcraft, she would do these things. Like it's her being witchy. And so the titles also just delighted us because we came up with so many and they were also absurd. We were very deliberate because if you look at the order of them, they get increasingly absurd. So it was the design that the early ones would seem real. And for me, it's like Coven of Chaos is where it starts to tip because it does sound like a real show, but it sounds like a really bad show. And so I was like, that's where I was like with the fans, I wanted to be like, stay with us. But yeah, it's just Agatha up to her tricks.
WandaVision, obviously, a lot of parodying of sitcoms. This one is going to lean more into the witchiness of it all. But first, we get like a procedural, which is so great that first episode. And I think more specifically, it feels like, obviously, Mare of Easttown. How did you land on that genre and that show specifically for episode 1?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea of like doing a procedural actually was an original idea I had for WandaVision. Like one of my original ideas was like that the sitcom mold would break into like a CSI. We ultimately abandoned it because there were too many wonderful sitcoms and because the narrative took a different shape. But I never lost sight of that idea because it was so fun and because on WandaVision we had such a good time doing those recreations. And then in approaching Agatha All Along, of course you want to harness a lot of that same fun and energy and recreations and pastiche, but you got to do it differently. It's a different show. It's a different lady. So and it also was the question of we had a lot of like, what would Agatha do moments, and we were like, if she was in a TV show, if she chose her own genre, what genre would she choose? And we were like, dead girl, like forensics. Like, gross, terrible. And also, this is sort of an extension of it that I actually haven't talked about. I forgot about this for a while. But we were also like, Agatha would delight in the true crime genre because really it's everybody kind of at their worst. Like the fact that we're such voyeurs into the dark side of human nature. Like really, she's like, I see you. Yep. I see you in your darkness. Yep. And so it was about that.